what is a story? Right, let's all get on the same page about one thing right now. Spec screenplays are about story and structure. They're not about spectacle, they're not about special effects, they're not about explosions or even snappy dialogue. Spec screenplays work when their stories work. Modern movies make money for all sorts of reasons. There will always be movies that happily replace story with spectacle and see huge financial returns. But here's the problem. We don't have that luxury. You can sell a movie to a teenager that doesn't make any sense, but you can't sell a screenplay to a studio that doesn't make any sense. Our story must be bulletproof, because only writers who can write bulletproof stories will get hired. After that, our bulletproof script will be changed by everyone else into something that may or may not be terrible. So let's start with a simple definition. A story. We meet a person or persons. Something happens to them, which forces them to accomplish something, but obstacles keep getting in the way. That's it. Think of any great movie and I promise that the plot will fit this paradigm. Truly great storytellers make it hard to see this structure, but when we go looking hard enough, we realize it's still there. It's just dressed up in a way that we've never seen before. To show it in practice, we're going to use one of the greatest screenplays ever. Die Hard, screenplay by Jed Stewart and Stephen E. D'Souza. A person, John McClane. What happens to them? His wife is taken hostage by terrorists. I know they're thieves really, but terrorists for all intents and purposes. What they need to accomplish? John must save his wife. The obstacles they face? John is alone in a lockdown building facing off against 30 terrorists. He can't call the police, and when he does, the police don't believe him. John has no shoes and no resources, while the terrorists are smart and well funded. The terrorists nearly catch him. To escape, he must jump down a 1,000-foot tall air vent. The police finally arrive, but they think John is either lying or one of the terrorists. One of his wife's co-workers pretends to be John's friend and gets himself killed. The police blame John. John encounters one of the terrorists and they realize he has no shoes on, so they cover the floor of the building in glass. The terrorists try to blow up the roof with the hostages on it. John gets shot at by the FBI and has to jump off a 60-story building attached to a fire hose. The terrorists work out who his wife is and use her as leverage against him. John has to give himself up to save her. Now, there are many more nuances to great stories, of course, like subtext, subplots, antagonists, internal flaws, all of which we will come to in later videos. Remember, this is just to get us started. But what didn't we cover here, though? We didn't cover the ending, of course. I just left John at his worst possible moment, when he's bloodied, battered, out of ammo, with his feet torn to shreds, walking out to give himself up. So why didn't I include the ending? Well, because the ending is dictated by the events that led up to it. When John's wife is captured by terrorists, we know that John is going to rescue her, and probably kill all the terrorists in the process. That's not a cliched ending. That's the ending to the story we are watching. We are not shocked when it ends that way. We are satisfied that it ends that way. For the best explanation of endings, we've got to go back to the master, William Goldman, who explains, give the audience the ending they always expected on a route they couldn't possibly have imagined. 30 minutes into some of the greatest movies ever made, you could stop the projector, turn to the audience and say, how is this going to end? And most of the time, the audience would be absolutely on the money. Imagine a different version of Die Hard. Hans Gruber turns up and kidnaps John McClane's wife and the other hostages. John is left alone in the building, he realizes he's outgunned, but for 60 minutes he kills off Gruber's men one by one, taunting Hans all the time on the walkie-talkies. John even starts to get the upper hand and gets hold of Hans's detonators. Then, 90 minutes in, Hans realizes Holly Gennaro is John McClane's wife, he holds a hostage and orders John to come out. John doesn't, so Hans shoots Holly. John is devastated. He hides in a bathroom while the thieves take their money. Some of the gang are killed by the FBI, but Hans gets away with most of the $650 million in negotiable bearer bonds. John comes out, goes home to his kids to explain that their mother is dead. The end. Now, how do you feel walking out of that theatre? Confused? Let down? Angry? Empty inside? Of course you do. It's a surprising ending, I'll give you that. And no way would I have predicted it, but that's because the ending has nothing to do with the story we were watching. The story was about a man who had put his job before his marriage. Therefore, the story we are watching ends when he puts his wife before everything else and saves her and the marriage. So let's go back to our definition once more and now complete it. A story. We meet a person or persons. Something happens to them which forces them to accomplish something, but obstacles keep getting in the way. They find ways to overcome these obstacles and achieve their goal. It's the breadth of new and exciting ways that we can bring this definition to life that makes storytelling so wonderful.